Hi, AJ Hartley here, novelist, Shakespeare professor, baby metal fan, and looking increasingly ragged and, you know, unkempt from too much pandemic inactivity. So I thought I would do another song today, and today's is going to be Catch Me If You Can. I was going to do this with Yon no Uta, song 4, last time, but discovered that I had more to say about both than I thought I did. But there's a clear relationship, I think, between the two in the invocation of potentially negative things, which are then sort of subverted and made fun and positive and playful and celebratory. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you. So obviously I skipped a ton of the long extended instrumental intro. You can watch that by yourself. I'm using the Zimmer composite recording of multiple live shows, partly to avoid violating copyright, and because you get to see lots of different live shows. But so right out of the get, we get the count in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the growly voice in the background, Moikai, and the response that everybody joins in, Ma da da yo, which means the growly voice is saying basically, are you ready? And Ma da da yo means not yet. Hold on. So we get a couple of repeats of that, and this sets the situation for the song right out of the gate. And we're going to get a number of references, but that make it clear this is a song, as I'm sure most of you know, is a song about children's games, specifically initially hide and seek, though we get into some other stuff. So the voice calling, are you ready? And the girls responding, not yet, is the setup for the hide and seek, where you're taking your positions, and the person who's going to come and find you is seeing whether you're ready to be hunted. I gotta say, I just love seeing all those crowds of people all over the world shouting "Ma da da ya." So the first verse, this way or that way, and then "Sate Oni-san doko desho?" So hey, Oni-san, Mr. Oni. I'll get to that in a second. Where do you think I am? And I've got this great hiding place that you're absolutely never going to find me. Never, as in zettai, right? Absolutely not. As in ijime dame zettai. So Oni-san. Now, in terms of children's games, the Oni-san is the it, right? When we talk about playing tag or something like that in the UK or in the US, the person who's responsible is it, and everybody else is the regular players. Oni, though, is quite specific and has various sort of cultural associations that go beyond the game itself. And sometimes it gets translated as demon or devil or monster or something like that, none of which are quite right. So, I just leave it as Oni, because an Oni is something fairly specific. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on that, even though the precise nature of the Oni in some ways doesn't matter that much because it's a children's game, but it has this sort of cultural legacy behind it. So I think it's worth speaking about. So depending on what kind of ethnologist you're reading, the Oni is either a slightly separate species from other yokai or is one of the yokai. A yokai being sort of mysterious, quasi supernatural, magical beings. There are loads and loads of different yokai in Japan, and this is one of the things I'm absolutely fascinated by yokai lore. And the big five of yokai are Kitsune, which of course we already know as Baby Metal fans, Tanuki, Kappa, the water demon. Tanuki are the sort of raccoon dog guys. Kappa, Tengu, which are they come in a couple of different forms. They usually have the long, either sort of faintly phallic long nose, or the sort of hawk-like beak nose, and they're sort of mountain spirits. And the Oni are sometimes translated, as I say, as demons or devils, and I don't like that term because from a Western tradition, demons and devils have very sort of spiritual associations, by which I mean that they are creatures of spirit, right? Whereas the Oni in crucial respects aren't. The Oni are something closer to ogres or trolls, something that is defined largely by their physicality. They are magical, but they usually get represented as large, muscular, humanoid figures, almost always male, though there are some female variants. They usually have different names. And they frequently wear tiger skin loincloths, which suggests probably a Chinese import somewhere back long ago, because the Oni have been around for a very, very long time. Since there are no tigers in Japan, I'm assuming that's coming from elsewhere. They usually have big, heavy clubs. They frequently have claws on both hands and feet, often just 3 claws per. And they usually have horns, almost always have horns. And the eyes, sometimes they have 2 eyes, sometimes they have 3 eyes or only 1 eye. And they are, as I say, very physical. They're defined by their strength and by their destructive impulses. And a lot of folklore experts position Oni as specifically anti-social forces, right? They're those elements of the natural or supernatural world which are most overtly opposed to humankind. And in some ways they remind me of a figure like Grendel in Beowulf, right? Who is also defined in these sort of hulking, physical, violent terms, but whose anger directed towards humanity is frequently about the fact that he's excluded from it, right? He hears the sound of the singing from Heorot, and this is what inspires him to come in and kill everybody, or try to. So a lot of stories involving Oni are about people who have to sort of face up to them, either in some sort of trial of strength or martial arts, or in wits, right? Sometimes you beat the Oni by outsmarting them and protecting people and the culture as a result. So the children's games that we're talking about here grow out of this idea of a sort of generic monster, which is specifically associated with the hunting and killing of people, right? So it has been sanitized and made playful within the various games that we're going to talk about today. And that the first one, of course, is the hide and seek Kakurembo. So, Migi Hidari. So we're looking around from to right and to left. Yada doki doki to. So my heart is beating really fast. So there's a sense of excitement and maybe fear. Iyo. So yeah, okay, ready. If you think you can, go ahead and try finding me. Go for it, right? And then back to that, the shout from the Oni. Are you ready? Are you ready? Madadaya, madadaya, not yet. And then. Okay, so Oni-san kochira, over here, Oni, and ten no naru hoe, come toward the sound of my clapping. So now we're sort of moving into a slightly different game, right? That there are a couple of different things in play. As I said, we've already got the hide and seek, but now we got something slightly different. Something more, and BabyMetal talks about this, and he's really, really useful on this particular song, and he breaks it down really well. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out. And he talks about the Mekakushi Oni, which is sort of like a blindfolded Oni, right? And the game, again, it's a children's game, and it works sort of like Blind Man's Buff or Marco Polo, where somebody has their eyes covered and they have to hunt the other people, and the other people call to them. And that's what's happening here as they're calling, calling to the Oni and telling them to follow the sound of the clapping. And the mo'io means at the end, it's like, okay, now we're ready. Okay, so now we get into the chorus part. Well, guru guru kakurembo. So guru guru means round and round. It's another of those Japanese onomatopoeic phrases. Hide and seek, mawate, running around or spinning around. Ashimoto. So watch your step, and then the next bit. Whoa, guru kakurembo. Okay, here's where it gets tricky. Akai kutsu hide charame dangerous demon. Okay, so this translates as, you shouldn't wear red shoes because they're dangerous. And, lots of people online have speculated about what on earth this is doing in this song. One theory is that it's dangerous to wear red shoes because we're borrowing from a sort of Hans Christian Andersen tradition, the story of the red shoes, where somebody puts red shoes on and they dance and dance and they can't stop, and somebody has to cut their feet off, which is not particularly cheerful. And it doesn't seem to me to be relevant to this song, if I was honest. I don't see it. But so then there are a couple of other options. The most obvious to me is that the idea that the Oni is looking for you, and if you're wearing red shoes, then you're going to stand out. But that idea of red shoes making you stand out, I think, is interesting, and it's related, I suppose, to the Hans Christian Andersen thing, and to the Akai Kutsu song. There's a song written in like 1922, which gets sort of used as a nursery rhyme, as a song, and for children, and it's about a girl who wears red shoes, and is, as a result of wearing the red shoes, abducted by a foreigner and taken away and never to return. Another happy little song. And I think that in all of these instances, the idea that red shoes make you stand out is the key, right? So one of the things, one of the tensions within the song, within the 1922 song, is this, again, very Japanese idea that if you sort of stand out, draw attention to yourself, bad things happen, right? This is, again, a product of a fairly conformist kind of society that values the community over individuality, to a certain extent at least, right? And I'm not saying that critically. I think in many ways it's a good thing. So, what it's doing in this song, I'm not entirely sure, if I was honest. I think that the simple explanation is, if you're playing hide and seek or something and you're wearing red shoes, then the demon is likely to spot you. The Oni is going to see you. One thing that further complicates it is that there are a number of interesting stories connected to Oni which do focus on footwear, right? There's a folk tale out of Yamanashi, where I used to live, about an Oni that's terrorizing a particular family, an old woman who has 3 sons. And what characterizes this particular Oni is that he has these magic boots which allow him to travel very fast and very far. And the story is then about the boys outwitting the Oni, getting him to go a tremendous distance away and falling asleep out of exhaustion. And the boys are then able to sneak his boots off him, steal his boots. The oldest brother puts the boots on, the other brothers climb on his back, and they're able to run away and get far beyond the reach of the Oni. Is that relevant? I don't know. I think that, part of the thing here is that we're not just playing hide and seek. There's also a form of tag, onigoko, which is being played within the song as well, because there's a lot of talk about running around, right? So when you do hide and seek, you're not running around. You go to a place, you hide, and that's it. So the idea of playing a form of tag in which the Oni, the it, is chasing you makes a kind of sense and focuses again on speed and mobility. So maybe there's some relevance there. And as of course is typical with these songs, it's not always clear whose voice we are in, whether we're in the voice of the people running away from the demon, from the Oni, or in the voice of the Oni itself. But in any case, the red shoes are supposed to be dangerous. Kind of hard to hear there, but the words in the background, nakugo wa inega, and waruwi go inega, which translates to sort of, are there any crybabies here? Are there any naughty kids here? And again, BabyMetal's really good on this, because he points out that this is straight out of Namahage, which is a kind of New Year trick-or-treat kind of thing, specifically associated with Akita Prefecture. And that's part of why the words are in this sort of dialect form. And it's the voice of the demon, the Oni, going from house to house, calling for the naughty children who they then terrorize. And of course, the demons this is a festival, and the demons are played by adults in masks and these sort of straw costumes, and they look really sort of impressive and kind of terrifying. And frequently the masks are red or blue, which we get to in the song in a second. And they come hunting from house to house. And as I say, this is a New Year thing. And I think the idea in part is to sort of, it's a bit like a New Year's resolution, but it's a resolution which is being imposed on the children, telling them to be better this year than they were last year. And apparently, the parents will sort of sometimes speak to the actors who are going to play the Oni and give them specific messages for specific children. So it's fairly terrifying, and again pushes towards that sort of somewhat conformist behavioral model. We're trying to get the children to behave the way that they are supposed to. Now, in this case, of course, it's being rendered in this more playful fashion. And in the course of the song, it seems like the Oni and the people running from the Oni or hiding from the Oni are participating in a larger sort of communal activity, right? So it's not just us against them. There's something else going on. Can I just say, I love that. There's so much going on in the choreography in these songs. The sort of the clawed stuff, the monstrous position, and you can see how they're all switching, right? That initially Sue is the one doing the hunting, and Yui and Moa are hiding from her. But now it seems like we're all the demons, which is relevant in a second. And the voice in the saying Mitsukita, I found you, Mitsukita, spotted you. So now we get this sort of, so if the Oni has been hunting for us, now we get to the point where the Oni has found us. So what happens next? Okay, so Guru Guru Kakurambo, Aka Oni-san, that's the red Oni, and then the blue Oni, and then she says stepu, 1 2 1 2. So now we're moving into a kind of dance, a communal dance with the Oni. So instead of it being simply a terrible thing, you know, or a playfully terrible thing within the game, that the demon catches you. But now what happens when they come together is that they dance together. And there is something, I think, again, very ritualistic about this, that one of the ways that Oni function in popular Japanese seasonal celebrations is that they have come to represent all the sort of negativity associated with the world, right? The Oni frequently are associated with misfortune and disease in particular, right? All the bad things that can happen to you. So there are a lot of these rituals where people will dress up as the Oni and then will be somehow defeated, right? They'll be subdued in a performance of strength, or a dance in which they are rendered safe, or defeated, or killed, or driven away, or pelted with soybeans or something, you know. And because we're driving away the bad stuff, the misfortune, and bringing in the good stuff, which is why I think that the other ritual that we were talking about is a New Year thing, right? The banishing of the old and negative, and setting up a sort of ritual of good fortune for the incoming year. So in this case, you know, what we have is that we confront the evil which is chasing us, and we render it somehow safe. We dance together. That the Oni become part of the pageant, which really appeals to me as a Shakespearean, because it's something that literally happened at the end of Shakespeare's plays. I'm currently doing a production of Julius Caesar, and you know, it's fascinating that one of the few early accounts that we have of somebody actually seeing a Shakespeare play in or around its first performance, and they talk about at the very end of the play that the actors who played Julius Caesar and Brutus and their wives danced together, right? So at the end of the show, Caesar has been killed by Brutus, and then Brutus is also killed. And then at the very end of the play, they come out and they dance together, which is beautiful, you know, and the sort of reconciling of whatever hostility and problems there were earlier on, and then they come together and celebrate. And again, it's a communal thing, right, where we pushing out all the bad stuff and coming together as a group. And in that last verse, so you know, she's saying, you know, and again, we're still within the dance. Even if you fall over, you shouldn't cry. Tsuyoiko-san demo, because you are strong kids. So again, whatever misfortune may come our way, you get up and you keep going, right? And that's the last line. Mara mara ikuyo. Mara mara ikuyo means we're still going. We're still dancing. We're still playing. We're still running around. And again, this is a very baby metal thing. Whatever difficulties come at us, we keep going. Great. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Again, I don't want to overplay the seriousness of the thing. Obviously, it's supposed to be playful, but I do think that there's some interesting stuff resonating at various levels. So that's what I have to say about that. And as usual, please comment and share your other insights or opinions. Lots of people have been doing it. It's really great. I especially like hearing from people in Japan. I really appreciate your support and your interest, and that's it. I think we're pretty much at the end of the first album. Maybe I'm done with it. We'll see. All right. Cheers. Thanks for now.